Over the last couple of months, America's food system has been under the microscope. There are already some changes in place about some artificial coloring, red dye 3 in particular, being banned from the FDA. Well, that's causing food companies to make some major shifts as well. Luckily, Ohio State already has some research on some natural dyes for our food. We'll hear more about that research coming up. And well, right about this time of year, we start thinking about what we're going to do with the kids over the summer. They can't just stay at home and drive us crazy. We got to give them something to do. If you got a high schooler that might be interested in some sort of part of Ohio agriculture, the ExploreAg camps might be the perfect fit for you. We'll find out more about those coming up after this on the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast.
No matter what generation farmer you are, the next one is always the most important. The Ohio Soybean Council is focused on the future of your operation. It's not just a checkoff contribution. It's an investment you can count on for your farm, your bottom line, and your future. Ohio Soybean Council. Invested in your future.
At Ag Credit, our loan officers take the time to understand each operation, its needs, and offer the unique financing solutions it deserves. Whether your needs include financing for equipment, livestock, inputs, farm improvements, real estate, or your home, we've got you covered. With a company vision to inspire growth in agriculture and our rural communities, our team members aren't just lenders. They take an active role in their community and are advocates for agriculture. To apply online or find the location nearest you, visit us at agcredit.net. Ag Credit, committed to agriculture, committed to you.
This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration's recent decision to ban red number 3, a synthetic dye linked to cancer in animal studies, may leave some food manufacturers searching for safer alternatives. Groundbreaking research from The Ohio State University's College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences offers a promising solution. Joining us this week on the podcast, Dr. Monica Giusti, a distinguished professor and associate department chair in the department's Food Science and Technology. Great to see you, Dr. Giusti. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Ty. Thank you so much for inviting me to share some of our research highlights.
We're hearing a lot about our food these days. When it comes to red number 3, what are we talking about and what kind of foods would we find it in?
Well, the colorants that are known as F, D, and C, like the red number 3, are approved for use in food, drugs, and cosmetics. And there is a wide variety of foods where we can find it. Red number 3 may not be the most widely used, but you can find it in drinks, beverages, in candy, in frosting, in some bakery products, many different types of foods, and also in some medications.
So what kind of strain might this put on the food industry? This is a ban on something that's used, as you mentioned, in quite a bit of the things that we might enjoy in our households. So what are food companies having to do, and how's the food industry being impacted by this ban?
Well, actually, this is a very big challenge for the food industry because the color of food is kind of like the indicator for consumers of the quality of that food. So if the food does not look the right color, it does not have this right appearance, consumers are going to worry that the product is not maybe safe, or is not fresh, or is not good for consumption, right? So this is a big challenge and a big strain on the companies because now they have to find another alternative. And typically when companies use one of those F, D, and C colors, like the red number 3, the same colorant can be used for many different applications. Yet, if they want to switch to a more natural alternative, it's very likely that they will have to make changes in the process, in the formulation, the amount of colorant they use. And even then, there is no guarantee that the natural color is going to give exactly the same shade of red. So if you think about your favorite foods, it's not enough that they have the right color. They have to have like the perfect color, right? A brighter red may give you a different impression than a dull type of red.
My favorite condiment is ketchup, and I'll never forget a few years ago that my buddy brought out a bottle of green ketchup. And you're right. How that ketchup looks, how that ketchup, in that bottle, it really affects how it tastes. I did taste the green ketchup. It tastes like ketchup, but certainly wasn't as appealing as that red ketchup that we're so used to seeing on our tables.
And that's such an excellent example, right? Because we there was a lot of demand for that ketchup, and people tried it, but it didn't stay. It was not the right color.
You mentioned the word challenges for the food industry, and really, I think that for you and your team, it creates an opportunity, right? You have pioneered research on alternatives to red number three. I'm going to try to get this right. Science is not my forte, but anthocyanins. Talk about your work in that space, what they are, and how they might be able to help these food processors get past red dye number three.
So first of all, you said it perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Anthocyanins, yes. And when you look at nature is very colorful. You go to the store, you go to the groceries to see the groceries, and there are like all these displays that highlight this contrast of colors. Anthocyanins are a class of phenolic compound that are very potent antioxidants. When you hear you should eat more fruits and vegetables, we believe that is in part because of these polyphenols that can fight some chronic diseases, but at the same time, they also provide those beautiful colors to fruits and vegetables. So a lot of the orange, red, purple, violet, blue, even some black colors like the blackberries can be due to the presence of anthocyanins. But anthocyanins are like a large class of compounds. So there are more than 700 different anthocyanins that have been already characterized from nature. And we have spent decades already studying anthocyanins and trying to understand what makes them shine, makes them have more vibrant colors, and which of those 700, which ones are going to give us better stability, are going to work better on the food matrix, and are going to be better alternatives to those synthetics.
This research is fascinating. And I know that great research leads to maybe more challenges to find. So, how do you see the success you found in this research, maybe catapulting your team to even further into the food dye space?
Well, we have seen so many changes lately, right? And the banning of the red number three has certainly brought a lot of increased attention into our lab and the work that we are doing. We have been studying anthocyanins for about 30 years already, right? So we really know this topic, and it's like we have been preparing for this time, right? We are ready for the challenge, and we are happy to work with companies, either the final users of those colorants, or maybe even with the colorant manufacturers that now may need to find better solutions, or that want to make small improvements in their current lines of products. We are lucky that for reds, there are alternatives, and there are companies that have, like the same as we have been studying anthocyanins, that have been studying the different alternatives that can be available for the food industry.
I mentioned that our food system is kind of being put under the microscope right now because of politics. The general public kind of looking at things maybe a little bit differently than they used to. What are the other major shifts you might see within the food system coming in the future, and how will that impact your research there at Ohio State?
So it is interesting, right? Because there is a lot of talk about the synthetic dyes and concerns about the synthetic dyes. But back then, in the times when I was actually a graduate student, my master's research was looking for an alternative to the use of synthetic dyes in maraschino cherries, right? So when you think about maraschino cherries, they are actually made from those beautiful, delicate cherries that have a very short shelf life. During processing of those cherries, they are placed in an infusion, and colors and flavors are lost and then placed back onto that cherry. And through this process, the cherries become almost immortal, right? So the delicate cherry that had a very, very short lifetime now becomes very stable, stable to room temperature, exposed to light, right? So I was looking at back then for information showing that the synthetics, like all the dangers, but I couldn't find, right? So, but still, the industry was looking for alternatives. Why? Because decades ago, the consumers were already expressing concerns, right? So through all this time, consumer voices have been expressing concerns about the synthetic ingredients. And what we are studying and what we want to provide is an alternative that is actually potentially good for you, good for your health, good antioxidants, potential anti-inflammatory properties. They have been associated with prevention of different chronic diseases, right? So the talks have been like constant. But then about maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was a study that became very famous that caused regulatory changes. It was a study in the UK that showed that children consuming synthetic dyes had more hyperactivity than children that didn't. So in Europe, they decided to put a warning on the products that had those synthetic colors. But FDA decided, well, this is not really conclusive evidence. We don't have enough information. We will continue to investigate, right? So by then, some companies said, well, we're going to change all our formulations. We're going to remove all the synthetics. But time went by and companies became very quiet. COVID came, people got distracted, and it kind of dissipated. So we were actually surprised that all of a sudden we heard that announcement from FDA saying Red 3 is banned. We had already heard from California saying that they were banning the synthetic dyes from the school systems. And just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, West Virginia has announced that they are banning them from the school systems now, and soon later, they are going to ban all of them for all foods in West Virginia. So how is that going to work? And how are the companies going to respond? And on top of that, there is a lot of discussion about banning all the synthetic dyes from the human foods in the US at the federal level. So these are a lot of changes, and definitely that puts a lot of highlight on the ongoing research in natural colorants. We are very excited to help companies, and we are looking forward to very curious about how this is going to develop.
As you might imagine, being the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast, a lot of farmers are listening in. They're at the very front of our food system, right? So, Dr. Justia, I want to ask you finally, as you look at the direction the production of food is taking, what should farmers know?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all the farmers because they feed us, right? So they play a very important central role in this food supply system, and a very valuable role. Regarding colorants, specifically, colorants from natural sources, many market studies have shown that if all companies were to switch away from the synthetics at this time in history, right, there is not enough supply of colorants from natural sources, right? So this is really an excellent opportunity for farmers to find creative ways to add value to maybe underutilized materials. So maybe those materials that you were growing to sell in the fresh market, and you have product that is not to the quality standards of the fresh market, but they are perfectly good, right? Those might become very good starting materials for the preparation of colorants from natural sources, alternatives to those synthetic dyes.
Great research, as always, being done at Ohio State's College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences. Dr. Monica Giusti, a distinguished professor and associate department chair in the Department of Food Science and Technology. Thank you so much for the great information and all you do there at Ohio State, and appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Ty, for inviting me again. And yeah, this was great. Thank you.
As the nation's #1 insurer of farms and farm families, Nationwide has long been a reliable resource for rural America. And while the current surge of data, technology, and globalization promises incredible growth potential, each new opportunity is shadowed by rising threats like security breaches, GMO contamination, and supply chain failures. This business is about adapting. It demands a protector just as forward-minded. It demands Nationwide.
Sometimes out here, you have to speak loudly.
Our voice alone may not have as much impact as we would like, but my voice
can be heard and influential through membership in Ohio Farm Bureau.
My voice, along with tens of thousands of Ohioans,
makes a difference when it comes to legislation, regulation, or litigation that can be positive or potentially harmful to those of us in the agriculture community.
Become a member today at ohiofarmbureau.org.
Because there is strength and members.
Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. It's that time of year where we have to start finding things for our high school students to do over the summer months. There are a lot of camps to choose from, but really one will stand out from the pack when you hear about this one. Ohio Farm Bureau's signature ag literacy and workforce development program, ExploreAg, once again offering free week-long camps and one-day experiences for high school students all across the Buckeye State this summer. To tell us more about ExploreAg, Katie Scher joins us. She's ExploreAg and Youth Development Specialist with Ohio Farm Bureau. Katie, I think this is your first time on the podcast. Welcome.
This is my first time. Thank you so much, Ty, for having me and letting me showcase ExploreAg to all of our listeners.
You know, there aren't many camps out there that can really change the trajectory of a thought process about a high school student's career path. This does just that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk more about ExploreAg and these camps and who they're designed for.
Absolutely. So ExploreAg camps are designed for any student here in the state of Ohio, either entering their freshman through senior year of high school or entering their freshman year of college this coming fall. These camps are for any high school student who isn't quite sure what they want to do when they grow up. Maybe they do know that they want to work in agriculture, but they don't quite know what yet, or those who know what they want to do, but you still want to have options as you are transitioning into that career workforce. So ExploreAg is truly for everyone, regardless of your background in food, agriculture, or STEM. We have had students from all over the state of Ohio participate in this program, and they have all walked away knowing more and feeling more empowered about Ohio agriculture and the potential jobs they can have.
You really do immerse them in all aspects of agriculture. What goes into creating the curriculum for these camps? Because you do keep them busy all week long.
Yes, we do. And we try to be as intentional as possible when creating the curriculum for these camps. The food, agricultural, and STEM related fields are so broad, and we want to make sure we are showcasing as many of those different aspects to these individuals as possible. We want to showcase that of careers that require a broad range of education, whether that's just in the high school GED, certifications, apprenticeships. Some of them require associate's degrees, undergraduate degrees, or graduate level degrees. So we want to lift up the advancement and the innovation that we have seen across the food and agricultural industry as we continue to grow and evolve production and business practices. We also want to balance hands-on learning experiences as well as tours and lecture style learning. We all know that most of us learn best by doing instead of sitting in a classroom and being talked at for a certain amount of time. So ExploreAg strives to have as many hands-on experiences as possible for our campers. I would also be remiss if I did not give a huge shout out to our partners. We would not be able to offer ExploreAg and the quality of programming that we do if we did not have such wonderful partners across the industry. They host and design wonderful tours for our groups. They answer all of the questions our students have, and they create hands-on activities to help students discover their path in food, agriculture, and STEM.
Yeah, I was going to mention the sponsors because it really wouldn't be possible. The week-long camps have so many things for these kids to do. Can you walk us through what a week-long camp might look like when it comes to ExploreAg?
I'm going to give just a general overview, but I will walk through one of our sample agendas later to give you a better idea. But typically for our week-long programs, they start on Sunday and we keep the students all the way until Friday. So students arrive at our host campus on Sunday afternoon. Once everyone is settled into their rooms, we all come together to do icebreakers and activities to just get to know each other before walking through expectations for the camp and what the week is going to look like. After the first day, though, I will say the week-long camps fly by with industry tours, hands-on opportunities, partner presentations, professional development sessions, group project work, and campus exploration. Outside of the career exploration component of camp, we also strive to grow our campers both professionally and personally through those professional development sessions. Students also have the opportunity to work on a group project throughout the week, and they present it on the last night of camp to their fellow peers. On the last day of camp, we hold a graduation event for our campers to kind of celebrate their completion of the week-long program. At these graduations, campers have the opportunity to network with Ohio Farm Bureau leadership, our industry partners that we met throughout camp, as well as any other guests that are attending the event. During graduation, leaders, partners, and guests who are in attendance get to hear from Ohio Farm Bureau, some of our campers, and learn about their personal experience from camp, as well as seeing the top 2 presentations from that group project I mentioned earlier. It's just a fun way to share how impactful this program is on the next generation of leaders. And as promised, I will walk through briefly one of our week-long programs. The specific one that I'm highlighting is the week-long program with the University of Findlay. So I already walked through what kind of the first day looked like, but the second day we might go out and we'll visit the University of Findlay Reek Center. We're just touring their labs and we're getting to go out and do collections, whether it's identifying different plants that are in the area and registering those within a system. We've also gone out to their animal science building to see what all careers are available there. We're getting to work with the animals, really getting comfortable with them. We get to have a brief admissions tour and just kind of explore the campus. We're there for a whole week. We might as well see what it looks like. And they do a great job of kind of showcasing the students around and answering any questions they might have. On the next day, we had a guest from Ag Credit come out and they actually had our group walk through a balance sheet, which is something you don't necessarily think of, but it's so important whether you're running an agricultural business or even just personally, how to do a balance sheet, how to identify what are your liabilities versus what are your assets in a company. We went over to the Anderson Grain and Ethanol plant as well to just get a tour of them, Sunnyville Farm, where the students got to bottle feed some of their new calves, which was really exciting. We've also had our partners such as Ohio Pork Council and Ohio Poultry Association. They come out and they present to our group and talk about what they do in their careers and how to get involved. We also had the opportunity to meet with the Wood County auditor, something you might not traditionally think of, but you need to know your auditors if you're working in any kind of agricultural company. So having that strong partnership is important. We went to Frobos Meat Locker, got to learn the history of how they got started and where they are today. We got to meet with the University of Findlay Chemistry Lab, do a couple experiments with them. And my favorite one probably from that tour is we got to tour Dietz Brothers. It's a chocolate company. So we got to see how that was made, kind of the timeline for making things. We toured their company in July and they were already making Christmas trees for December. So it was wild to think how far ahead that they have to plan. So those are just a couple things that we do throughout the week-long camps, but I will leave it at that. You'll have to just try it for yourself to see what it looks like.
Yeah, just a few things for the week. Now, many students, especially high school students, they have summer jobs, and maybe a week-long camp isn't something that they can really think about. But you have also one-day options as well. What do those look like?
We do, and those look very different from our week-long programs because unlike the week where we get to showcase as many options through several days, we have you for one day and we're trying to jam pack that schedule as much as possible to showcase different careers within food, agriculture, and STEM. Much shorter amount of time. And these one day experiences can look very different location to location or year to year. So some of these one day experiences may have a focus around a certain career in agriculture or a career that supports the agricultural industry, such as the Colt Lineman Training ExploreAg Camp, which we host this summer, and we usually do another one in the fall. But we partner with the Ohio Electric Cooperatives to host us for a day on their location, and I can briefly walk through what that schedule kind of looks like, but we usually have a welcome. They talk about their industry, what jobs you can do, what education and training you need, and then they usually have a rotating station for our groups. So they'll break them up into 5 different groups, and they'll rotate around the stations. One of them could be going up in the bucket truck for the linemen. So you see them all the time working on the power lines. So you get to go up there, see if you can handle the height. Dressing for safety, always important when you are handling anything with electricity and those power currents. So they teach you how to dress properly for that. How to build a crossarm. So as you're driving down the road, all of those power lines at the very top, that's a crossarm. So they're teaching the students how to build those. Underground work. A lot of these wires are underground. How do you find them? How do you work safely with them? And then the last station is line covering. Again, we're all about safety when it comes up. But if you think about the agricultural industry or anything that's tied to it, we need electricity to get our jobs done, which is why the Ohio Electric Cooperatives is such a great partner to showcase a career that supports our industry.
I've been up in a bucket truck. The view is nice, just don't look straight down.
I did not look straight down. I told him I will gladly go up in a bucket truck, even though I do not like heights.
Why does Farm Bureau as an organization put so much focus on something like ExploreAg and getting these young people immersed in what Ohio agriculture has to offer?
ExploreAg was initially established in 2018, and it addresses Ohio's critical need to fill positions within the food and agricultural fields that remain unfilled, either due to a lack of interest or awareness from those entering the workforce. This organization-wide strategy focuses on creating a pipeline through youth pathways to careers in food and agriculture. Through innovative partnerships with community, education, and industry partners, this program builds a continuum of engagement and hands-on experiences that begin in middle school, continue through high school, and support a student's transition from post-secondary education to careers in the food and agricultural sector.
I mentioned that there are a lot of other camps to choose from, right? And they might have arts and crafts, and they might have some things that can keep a kid busy. But this is different. This is maybe changing the thought process of a career path of someone in high school. Have you ever seen that spark where someone realized that they could find themselves with a career in agriculture, not necessarily, in the field getting your hands dirty, but there are so many other opportunities in agriculture for young people coming out of high school?
Yes, and it's these moments specifically that are what make my job worthwhile. I love seeing students find their passion, grow their existing career goals, or feel empowered to pursue a career they previously thought they couldn't. As one of our previous campers stated, agriculture is for everyone, and watching campers build each other up and encourage each other, regardless of their background with agriculture, it's truly amazing to watch. The campers, partners, and camp staff all work together to create an environment where everyone feels they belong in food, agriculture, and STEM because they do. During the ExploreAg camp at Ohio State ATI in Worcester, Ohio, it was wonderful to meet a young man who had no desire to attend college at the beginning of camp, but by the end of camp, he was not only considering college due to the experience he had throughout camp, but he had also grown his future career options as well to include agricultural engineering just based on his strengths that he had coming into camp. But I also want to mention that ExploreAg is not limited to the camps we hold during the summer and fall. I have had the pleasure of working with someone from my hometown who thought they would never be able to be a farmer due to mobility impairment. It has been such an honor to not only break down that thought process and share that they can absolutely be a farmer if they want to, but to get to share ExploreAg and other resources from Farm Bureau and some of our partners to help make that process easier as they are finding their home in food, agriculture, and STEM.
I mentioned that these camps are happening all over the state. Can you give us a rundown of where they're going to be, how someone can find out more, and tell us more about getting registered for ExploreAg?
Absolutely. So we are working with our very generous partners again from across the state of Ohio. Those include Ohio State Columbus, Ohio State ATI, University of Findlay, and Wilmington College. So they will be hosting us for our 3-week-long programs. The Wilmington College experience is a multi-day program, so you're with us for 4 days instead of the full 6. We're partnering with the Colt Lineman Training in Mount Gilead, Ohio, again on May 30th. So all of these dates are available on our website. So the exciting news is that ExploreAg applications are currently open, and these will close on April 30th. As Ty mentioned, ExploreAg is a free program. It's offered to high school students, so this is a great opportunity to grow both personally and professionally through the camp. Not only will you learn about a wide variety of careers tied to food, agricultural, and STEM, you will also have the opportunity to participate in some professional development sessions, as well as grow your personal network through the partners we meet throughout the program, as well as your fellow peers. So many of our past participants have created lifelong friendships through this program, and I would love to share that with everyone else in Ohio. Again, these applications are open. It's a totally free program, and they close on April 30th. To learn more and apply, you can visit exploreag.org. If you have questions, my email is on that website as well. It's info@exploreag.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Katie Scher, ExploreAg and Youth Development Specialist with Ohio Farm Bureau. I know it's an awful busy time for you getting ready for these camps, even busier when these camps happen, but appreciate all your work, and I know the kids do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ty.
Find previous podcasts at ohiofarmbureau.org and search podcasts.